large and dangerous rocket ship competition, simply known around here as Ldrs.
This is the most important event of the year in high-powered rocketry. Thousands of wild, obsessed rocket builders from across the country pack up their trucks, RVs, and trailers and descend on Lucerne Valley, California to launch rockets that they've spent months and even in some cases years building. They're finally ready to blast off.
And today, the sky's the limit. 5, 4. BYRON, and I'm here in Lucerne Dry Lake Bed in Lucerne Valley, California, home of this year's Ldrs competition. All year long, amateur rocket scientists are preparing for this day,
when they'll finally launch their prize rockets and get to compete in 2 highly anticipated contests, a 1,000-foot drag race and a low-altitude odd rocket competition.
to find out who has the biggest, the baddest, the fastest, possibly even the oddest rocket in the land. Or should I say the sky?
Let's get to our first competition, the drag race. 11 of the fastest amateur-built rockets in the world will launch simultaneously. The 6 rockets to hit 1,000 feet the fastest will move on to a second and final round.
The rules are pretty simple. You have to have a minimum 6-inch diameter rocket, a J-class motor, and each one of these has to be equipped with a recovery device, which is pretty much a parachute.
Our 11 fierce competitors come from all walks of life and have traveled from around the world for this head-to-head battle.
It's called the Bullet because it shoots off like a bullet, and it's going to win this race.
Everybody else is taking days to build this rocket. I'm going to take 20 minutes to build it, and I'm still going to win.
The man with all the bravado is Tim Ldrs, the drag race favorite.
Tim's certainly got a lot of experience in these kind of things, so yeah, my money would probably be on Tim.
Tim Ldrs, the wild man, his name says it all.
Yeah!
Tim's built over 2,000 rockets and won speed competitions all across the country. In the rocket world, he's known simply as the Wild Man.
Yeah. I just got the nickname Wild Man because that's pretty much how I've always flown. I put the biggest motor I could fit in.
Tim is certain he's a shoo-in to take the fastest rocket title.
Oh, of course I'm going to win. The trick is the motor that you use, how you configure it, custom-made 6-inch, thin-walled fiberglass tubing, along with some fairly thin fins and a nice fiberglass nose cone.
All rockets, from tiny kits to NASA shuttles, have the same basic parts. A nose cone, a body called an airframe, fins to keep it stable, and of course the heart and soul of the rocket, the motor, which relies on propellant or rocket fuel for its high-speed thrust.
For the drag race, I haven't even started yet. We're just going to kind of wing it, throw one together, and see what happens. Who says that I'm not going to win just because I threw it together?
Maybe this man.
I won!
I started building rockets back in the early 60s. Back in those days, everybody wanted to be part of the space race and drink Tang.
Tim's best friend and rocket-building buddy, Jim Hendrickson, also known as Crazy Jim.
It is what it is.
Yeah, Crazy Jim's in there too, but I'll sabotage his before he flies.
I found this old beat-up nose cone in the trash can. It had 13 holes in it, 38 cracks. but it's been foamed and reglassed, so it's flight worthy. The way you go the fastest is to have the least amount of weight and still be stable. There's no wasted space in this rocket.
Jim's secret weapon, his motor selection.
The J1999 Aerotech Warp 9. It's literally like hitting the rocket in the back end with a 600-pound sledgehammer.
Rocket motors are categorized by letters. The closer to Z, the more powerful the rocket. The J motor they use in the drag race is equivalent to a Mustang 6-cylinder engine.
It's gonna have 600 pounds of thrust, boom. So it'll be hit it hard, hit it quick, and get the job done as dirty as you can.
Minutes before the competition, frontrunner Tim finally finishes his rocket.
So, Tim, how long did it take you to build your rocket?
20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Sitting right next to the crazy Jim rocket that he spent 3 weeks working on. And I'm still gonna kick his butt.
Do you think that he's being just a little too confident here that you're actually gonna win?
Oh, of course, look, he's a Yankee. You know how they are, right? Down south, we do things with style.
The fastest 6 rockets to 1,000 feet will advance to the final round of the drag race. And Tim and Jim aren't the only ones fighting for these coveted spots. A 16-year-old rocket prodigy, Brian Deerking, may just have their number.
To my competitors who discount me because I am 16, I have nothing to say, but that is a terrible idea. I am in this competition to win it. I have an edge over other people because it is the most aerodynamic design possible. Got a very aerodynamic nose, and it goes down to only 6 inches in diameter. You see this tail cone section where it shrinks down to a smaller diameter? It's built like a race car. The rocket motor I'm using, the J1909, is the best. My biggest fear about launching the rocket is what's called a CATO.
Wait, what is a CATO?
CATO, catastrophe at takeoff.
There is a language to rocketry. Skywriting, which is when a rocket flies all around in the sky and leaves a smoke trail. Ballistic means it's just falling straight down. That's when the parachutes don't come out and it just flies in like it took off.
Rocket just turns over, comes in, and does what they call a lake stake. And that just sticks in the ground and destroys the rocket.
Land shark. The rocket leaves the pad and takes off like a shark across the lake bed.
Any of these malfunctions results in a DQ for our drag racers and ends any chance of them taking home the fastest rocket trophy.
I'm Mark Canepa, and I'm going to win that race. This is the 6-inch drag race rocket. So long, and thanks for all the fish. I built this rocket in about 30 days. It's about 8 feet tall, weighs about 20 pounds loaded. It is a little longer than most of the rockets that are going to be in this race.
A larger, heavier rocket is usually slower, but it can stand up to a more powerful motor.
To get to 1,000 feet, you've got to push on a J1999. It's a very powerful motor. I think we're going to see rockets shred up there. I bet at least 6 don't make it back alive after the first heat. I did the best I could. I've got carbon fiber between my fins and lots of strengthening materials, but that'll be the most nervous time for me, to make sure that this motor actually doesn't go right through this rocket.
Mark and the rest of our Rocketeers are at the pads right now.
Our first round has a packed field, 11 rockets lined up side by side that are going to launch simultaneously.
Coming up, the most explosive drag race in LDRS history.
It is the craziest drag race I've ever seen.
Welcome to LDRS 29.
Kick the tires and light the fire.
The most highly contested race of the entire competition is about to begin, the 1,000-foot drag race.
Let's get down to the range. 11 Rocketeers are vying for the ultimate title, fastest rocket of 2010. Winner takes home bragging rights and the coveted LDRS trophy.
I definitely think I am a competitor in this competition, especially now that I get to look at all the other rockets.
This is my rocket. It's called the Bullet, and it's going to win this drag race, hands down.
His looks pretty, but mine's going to fly better.
What gives me the edge is thrust to weight.
The first round of the fastest rocket drag race starts now.
Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1, launch!
On takeoff, 8 of the 11 rockets shred to pieces when their motors prove too powerful for their designs.
Hey, it's like Skittles, Ed.
Brian Deerking's worst fears realized. His rocket victory dance, KO'd.
Made it too light? Not strong enough. The motor was just too powerful. It ripped the rocket apart instantaneously.
Wildman Tim's rocket, named short and to the point, blew up before it reached the 1,000-foot mark.
Did yours do as well as you expected?
The motor blew up.
So maybe not.
No, not anywhere near it.
Joining him in defeat, his friend Crazy Jim.
My rocket fell down, go boom. I think the motor blew up. One thing's for sure, I'm not in the next round.
I was so busy ready to run, I don't think I saw who made it to 1,000 feet first.
Altimeter readings collected within the rockets give the time at which they hit the 1,000-foot mark. In third place is Mark Canepa's So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, whose altimeter shows he broke the 1,000-foot threshold in 4.63 seconds.
I feel pretty good. My rocket was a little bigger and a little heavier than the other rockets, and I was worried about the thrust of the J1999s, and as you saw, ripped a lot of the rockets apart.
Second place, The Patriot, at 4.62 seconds.
How excited are you about this?
I'm excited. I have nothing to do now. I don't have a rocket to rebuild.
And in first place, Bullet, at an astounding 2.36 seconds.
How did your rocket do? We don't know.
I couldn't even see it. It took off and everything was exploding.
After the first round, those are our 3 fastest rockets. The remaining 8 competitors all DQ'd. But they put on quite a show for the nearly 4,000 attendees at this year's LDRS, the biggest crowd in its history. An amazing feat considering its humble beginnings.
LDRS has been around for 29 years. It originated with a group of students who met in their grandmother's basement. The very first one was in 1982. I attended it myself personally. It was a very small cornfield in northeastern Ohio. Less than 100 flyers were there at the time. We flew out of a tiny field flying rockets that would be considered very small and tiny by today's standards, but they were certainly pushing the envelope of civilian rocketry in those days.
Nearly 30 years later, advances in technology, lighter building materials, and more powerful rocket motors have made LDRS the event to see the most cutting-edge, high-powered rocketry. Because, in addition to the marquee races, LDRS opens the field to the biggest and most innovative rockets in the land. Like this one, Mark Hayes' Ares space plane.
I think everyone's going to be out to see this thing fly. It's different. It's something you don't see every day. We have a combination of 5 motors in this rocket. The main motor is a L995, and that's a red lightning. It'll have a bright red flame. It's going to be some cool smoke, some sparks, some flames.
Mark is so passionate about rockets, he actually got married at a rocket launch event.
From the minute I stepped onto that lake bed and saw that first high-powered rocket go, I was hooked.
I think it's destiny.
Wait a second, you're not lined up on the side. Anytime we go to a launch, there's always an extra set of hands that it's needed somewhere, so I step up.
Mark is building this Ares space plane, which holds strong sentimental value. It's an upscale model of a rocket he loved as a child.
To me back then, it was the future of space travel. When we started building it, we had to think about how to make it land so it wouldn't be destroyed. We're actually going to split it into 3 pieces. There's 2 separate parachutes on it. It also has a sling, so it's going to land flat, similar to what a real aircraft would land like. Well, I've got a year's worth of time into building the rocket. We've got some money, a lot of people involved in it. If it crashed, and I would be terribly hurt.
If this doesn't work, I'll be sad, because he'll be sad. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into this rocket.
Whoa! And that is exactly what I wanted to see. That's a perfect test. I think my neighbors are used to seeing me do all these crazy things with rockets, so seeing me run down the street with a parachute behind me, nothing new to them. They call it the Mark Show when I come out.
Nerves run high as Mark and Marion put on the final touches for the Ares spaceplane's maiden flight.
This is a beautiful rocket.
Thank you.
It's so detailed.
About 8 months worth of work.
8 months worth of work.
months.
Oh, so what happens if there's some sort of mishap?
I'm gonna cry.
You're gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry.
What's your biggest concern about this launch?
It's a complicated setup. I have probably 6 or 7 events that have to happen for it to be a perfect flight, so that's the biggest thing I'm worried about, is one thing after another happening just like it's supposed to.
Range is clear, sky is clear.
Breathe.
Wait, I thought she was supposed to remind you to breathe.
It's gonna be great.
It is.
All right.
Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
It's coming up.
It's going.
We have liftoff, but without a parachute, 8 months of work will crash to the desert floor.
Come on, give me a shootout. Give me a shootout. There it is.
Boom! It worked perfectly.
Looked like everything went good.
Perfectly.
More sparks for Mark and Marion, but LDRS isn't just about the love. It's time to get back to the competitions.
Now, when you think rocket, you think one of these beauties flying through the clouds, higher than the eye can see at Mach speeds. But that's what makes this next competition so unique and so unusual.
The goal of the low-altitude odd rocket competition is to take something that was never meant to fly and launch it as low into the sky as possible. The closest to, but not below, 100 feet will take home the 2010 Odd Rocket Trophy. A gnome, a beer bottle, a pizza, even a Christmas tree. But who will take home the prize? Our first competitor is a familiar face, but this time he's brought some backup. His dad, Richard. Brian and Richard Deerking are certain their 10-foot-tall odd rock, Mr. Smiley, will crush the competition. Smiley's first flight was at LDRS 26, and today he's sporting a redesigned noggin out of special expanding foam covered in fiberglass.
When you have that tough outer shell of fiberglass, that will give him extra strength. Mr. Smiley, unfortunately, had a crash landing. That was 3 years ago. The wind was relentless. He started drifting because of that wind and landed hard and flipped over, and the head was damaged. Am I afraid that Smiley's gonna crash? Yeah, but not so much that I don't want to fly him again.
With a K-motor and a new hard head, Smiley is beaming with confidence. Father and son are on the range, ready to fire.
Here are the rules. I need the lowest altitude that's not under 100 feet. I need a very safe parachute deployment, and I need an altimeter reading. Are you ready to launch?
We're ready. We're ready.
All right, let's get this launch going. Come on.
Big gusts coming. Tell them to hold for. Tell them to hold for. Tell them to hold for wind. Tell them to launch at a lull.
3, 2, 1.
We have a rocket airborne.
Parachute. 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 Look at he's smiling at us. Okay, it's coming down pretty quick. Oh! That's all right.
Mr. Smiley has a great flight, hitting apogee at 613 feet.
He's still smiling.
But next up in the competition is a crowd favorite.
There are many characters at LDRS, but among them, only one is considered a living legend, and that's Kai Michelson.
The king of big, bad, bizarre rockets. This man is a world record holder and the first and only civilian to launch a rocket into outer space. And that was one big rocket.
Kai Michelson, he's the ultimate showman.
He likes to have something unique. He likes to stand out.
He built himself a rocket-powered wheelchair a couple of years ago.
The Rocket Man. Well, I've been Rocket Man for a long time. You know, I like the name so well, I actually named my son Buddy Rocket Man Michelson. The only baby picture, to the best of my knowledge,
is him holding a stick of dynamite, which of course is fake, and a rocket in the other hand at 15 minutes old. I was actually 13 years old when I first built my rocket-powered vehicle. And you know, ever since then, I've always said, if you want to go fast, put a rocket on it. There's no limit to the amount of speed that you can go in a rocket-powered vehicle.
Kai Michelson has proven that. He's broken multiple world records with his speedy rockets, and Kai will make just about anything fly.
Things I've put rockets on: motorcycles. I built rocket cars, of course, rocket-powered toilets. I call this the SS Flusher. A guy came over to my house one day, and he gave me this crusty toilet, and I threw it up on the bench, and I stood back and just started whittling away, and here it is.
Went and bought a bicycle, and it sat there for a long time, and what the heck, I threw a rocket on it.
I was actually going to motorize that bed, and I was going to actually drive that bed out onto the deck and sleep underneath the stars. I mean, yeah, I put rockets on just about anything and everything you can.
At a past LDRS, Kai had everyone excited when he flew the oddest of odd rocks.
Well, the last time we flew something weird was a toilet, an outhouse, you know. So I said, you know, we need to make the flying coffin of death. Boy, he looks like a bad dude, man.
Yes, topping even the outhouse, this year, Kai is flying a coffin.
We're coming along pretty good here. We got the fin can on, got the sides. Actually, if you look at the sides, we made these sides out of doors, real lightweight doors, and it's very inexpensive, but it add a lot to the strength. So it's not going to be no little dinky little motor. This thing's going to have some serious thrust, well over 500 pounds of thrust for a few seconds. This thing's going to kick butt. There'll be a lot of fire, going to kick up a lot of dirt. It's the Kai Michelson style. This is a one-time around deal, one deal, balls out to the wall, and whatever happens, happens.
Coming up, Kai launches his flaming coffin of death.
3, 2, 1.
And later, it's the finals of the fastest rocket competition. Rocket competition began with a bang.
That was awesome.
While our three finalists work frantically to repair their ships for the upcoming winner-take-all finals, another contest is reaching fever pitch. As Kai Michelson steps up to the pad in the low-altitude odd rocket competition.
The whole team is very excited about this. We've worked really hard on it, and we know it's going to be spectacular, that's for sure.
Kai Michelson, Rocket Man, you are a living legend among the Rocketeers. A coffin?
We're going to have a hard time topping this one, that's for sure.
Rocket Man, I think you might be a crazy man.
I've been told that before.
Awesome. I want to see this thing go. Are we ready to launch?
Yeah, hey, let's go get him.
In the odd rocket competition, where lower is better, Kai's coffin has to fly below Mr. Smiley's 613 feet and have a safe landing in order to take the lead.
All right, you've been waiting for it. Here it comes. This is Kai Michelson's flaming coffin of death.
This is when my heart always starts pounding. I'm
Yeah?
sorry, guys. And launching in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, bang, 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 bang. Go, go, go. Go, go, go.
Oh, man. Hey, it flew good, though. What happened? But it flew nice.
Yeah, it flew great. One of the electronics requires to go 160 feet before it arms itself.
So that means it didn't go 160?
I don't think it went over 160 feet.
We ain't that lucky. We don't have to worry about bringing it back home. It'll fit in the glove compartment now.
Kai is DQ'd for his crash, leaving Mr. Smiley holding on to first place. And while competitions are king at LDRS, there's one spectacle at this year's event that has no competition. Tim, the wild man's monstrous 25-foot-tall, 250-pound Dark Star, the largest rocket here, more than 3 times the size of the dragsters and over 30 times more powerful.
How you guys doing? This is the wild man right here.
Well, we're getting there. It's pretty darn close to being ready to go. We've got a giant O Sparky motor in there. along with 3 Ks to get it off the pad. Should go somewhere around 10,000 feet.
Feeling good about it?
Oh, yeah. We're going to cook some butt.
What do you think, Crazy Jim?
I think it's Tim and Jim's most excellent adventure about to happen.
A massive rocket like Dark Star needs a lot of power to get off the pad. But a bigger motor means a riskier launch.
It's going to fly on an O motor that's over 6 inches in diameter and 3 feet long. The O motor is definitely top fuel dragster versus a regular G motor is like a Hyundai. There's nothing certified bigger than an O right now. The motor tube is in place for the large O motor, and then we're fitting the centering rings right now for the 3 smaller motors that we might have to add to get the extra thrust off the pad. More motors is better.
And more money.
It's going to cost me about $5 grand. If this fails, the whole thing's coming apart. You ready? Here we go. It's going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Darkstar has a flawless 4-motor launch. But to recover his $5,000 rocket, Tim also needs a perfect parachute deployment.
That's the main. Yeah! Woo! Yeah!
That's high-power rocketry.
Jim Bob! We frickin' did it, buddy. Look how much it was dragging in the dirt. It was digging. I ain't hugging him. I'll shake his hands.
Good job, Wild Man. Good job.
As the Wild Men celebrate, our low-altitude odd rocket competition rolls on. With only one successful launch so far, Mr. Smiley is sitting pretty in first place. Up next are 2 science fiction rivals who want to take him and each other down.
Okay, now this is an odd rocket.
As you can see, it's a Darth D2. It's a dark side of the R2 unit.
What exactly is your strategy here?
Well, he's short and squat, a lot of drag. That'll slow him down and keep him low. And we're gonna get after this other rocket over here and see if we can take him out.
Fabulous. Good luck from robots to spaceships. Now, this is amazing. Exactly, what's your strategy?
It's a big, heavy rocket, but hopefully we can keep it just a little bit over, skosh over 100 feet. You know, we're the old school badasses on the block.
So what do you predict for your flight?
Hopefully it'll just go straight up. Every once in a while it catches the wind. If it catches the wind, that'll also keep my altitude down. I got a nice big red line motor. Bad guys love red.
Right on. We have some of the oddest rockets you've ever seen in this competition, but right here, this is a sci-fi standoff from the iconic classics. We'll see who wins.
The tension builds as these 2 rivals take to the range and load their rockets onto the launch pads. The spaceship is first.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Has a successful launch, deployment, and recovery. But how low did he go? While we wait for his altitude reading, arch rival Darth D2 is up. Darth D2 has a great launch, but fails to deploy a parachute.
That robot is gone, smashed, million pieces. R2 destroyed.
Apparently my timer didn't work. I used a timer to blow the chute out.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It was a good day to die. Kapla.
The spaceship's altitude reading comes in at 1,400 feet, way higher than the 100-foot threshold, landing it in 2nd place. Darth's D2 crash results in a DQ. Launching something that was never meant to be a rocket is not easy.
Odd rock on 14 and 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was different.
The altimeter didn't register.
Damn it. 3, 2, 1. Gee, that's just what it did last time.
Up next, father and son team James and Chris Cobell try to break the DQ trend and take the top spot from Mr. Smiley.
Well, this rocket is called an Estes Dude. It's an inflatable rocket. You can see a big Mylar balloon that stands about 6 feet tall. Lots of jokes about this. When we're setting it up, I inflate it, and away she goes. The wind will kill me. It's not made to fly in the wind. It's a balloon after all, and it'll just end up down in Arizona someplace. So, gotta be calm. Gotta be calm. That's my only hope. It makes me nervous, this wind. I sure hope we get a calm spot.
Hey, Five, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's up there. Oh, I think we got it. It's up there 100 feet. Come on, parachute. Come on, parachute. I think we got it. Yeah. I think we got it. Beautiful. Yeah. I think we got a good chance on this one. Yeah.
Looks like the wind blew this balloon rocket right into first place with 130 feet, knocking Mr. Smiley down to second. There's only one rocket left in the odd rocket competition. Can they hit the right altitude and take out our leader? Coming up, the finale of the low-altitude odd rocket competition. Plus, the only piloted flight of the event. Yes, that's right. One of these rockets actually has a passenger. Welcome back to LDRS 29. We are at the final launch for the odd rocket competition. Now, the team that can shoot their rocket to the closest minimum of 100 feet will take home the trophy and the bragging rights for the entire year. Our final competitor, Matt Johnson, certainly has spirit. Christmas spirit, that is. So tell me, did you get that one for Christmas?
That was an after Christmas special.
Yay! I love it. Sales. What is your strategy here?
Well, weight is one thing, and the drag will slow it down because of the conical shape. And of course, the little branches will slow it down really a great deal. But we came from Michigan, and we drove all the way across in 4 days, and we're here to win.
Let's get it to the pad and see what it's got.
So far, your biggest competitor is going to be Chris Cobell with 130 feet.
That's tough. That's tough. That's close. We'll try. See how it goes. A lot of drag. We'll make it work.
Christmas coming early.
Yep.
All right. Let's go watch it from really safe distance.
The tree is flying too high to beat the dude's low launch. But just in case there's any doubt, the Christmas tree is DQ'd for a crash landing.
Congratulations, Dad. Thank you. That's a good try. Glad you went too high, though. All right.
Chris Cobell at 130 feet. You are the winner of the low-altitude odd rocket competition.
He's my little rocket buddy, and we do all this stuff together, and to do it as part of a team with my son is just nothing compares.
Of course, LDRS is all about the rockets. But what really fuels this event are the characters who attend it. Let's get out and meet some of the Rocketeers who make the pilgrimage every year.
I love the smell of rockets in the morning.
Apparently, so does Marion Hayes, who practically sleeps on top of them.
Who carries rockets in their trailer? That's great. So you live in here for the entire rocket event?
Correct. We stay on the lake bed the entire time.
Sleep, eat, work?
Everything. All of it right here.
LDRS number 1!
This is what I call my mini patriot.
Oh no, is this a rocket graveyard? Rest in peace? Or is it rest in pieces?
LDRS is one of the biggest, coolest rocket events.
They say that rocket building is a man's sport, but I think this is the most feminine rocket I've seen all day.
Yeah?
Rocketry, an exact science. But not exactly.
After meeting all these characters, we were singing the same tune.
Do you have any rocket songs? Have you seen my giant rocket in LDRS 29?
You have to move around the other side and damage the other ear just as much.
Obviously, everyone at LDRS is passionate about rockets, but they're especially meaningful for our next Rocketeer. He's hoping to launch his rockets into the heavens, literally.
The project I've got today is a full-scale Patriot missile. It's 16 inches in diameter. It's 17 feet tall. It has a very large motor. This motor should push the rocket to 7,000 feet and almost 500 miles an hour. The point of this flight was to memorialize my friend's life.
Robert DeHate built this enormous replica rocket as a tribute to his friend Paul Robinson, a legend in the rocket community who passed away last year.
He asked me if I could fly his ashes at this launch before he died. I built a container to hold his ashes. When the rocket goes up and the parachute deploys, the box will separate and it will scatter his ashes at apogee, at the highest altitude that the rocket can reach. That will send him into the heavens. I'm very nervous. We're actually moments away from launching here.
Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Uh-oh, pieces coming in. Compartment motor burnout. Boosters free. Falling.
The Patriot comes down in pieces, but not before successfully scattering Paul's ashes.
I was able to fulfill his wishes. He didn't say it had to be a successful flight.
While Robert collects what's left of the Patriot, let's check in with our fastest rocket drag racers. Time is ticking away while they repair their rockets for the finals. Round 1 was catastrophic. In the race to see who could reach 1,000 feet the fastest, 8 out of 11 drag racers exploded on takeoff, leaving just 3 badly bruised survivors to duke it out in the finals. They've been racing against the clock to repair their rockets in time for the championship.
The rocket sustained some damage. When it landed, it had a hard landing, and it kind of popped apart. It's just a matter of getting it back together and doing it again.
While Karl and family patch up his rocket, let's check in on Mark Canepa, whose self-assured strategy seems to have paid off.
I was confident that I'd make it to the second round, so we had these charges already made in advance. The motor's already been built, and we will assemble the rocket and be ready to fly.
And despite the desert heat, Andy Handsome isn't sweating the next race.
Replace the battery and the flight electronics, refold the parachute, pack it in with the nose cone, and rebuild a new rocket motor.
These Rocketeers have their work cut out for them, as the countdown to the fastest rocket competition has begun.
It's been an incredible day at LDRS 29. We've seen some of the biggest, fastest, and strangest rockets in the land. Oh my gosh, are you kidding? This is beautiful. I love your hat. They've got everything. But one thing we haven't seen yet is a cat get launched into space. Nibbles, are you ready in there?
Our next Rocketeer is looking for redemption. The previous launch of his rocket named Space Death 2 crashed and burned. Meet Kurt Gugesberg and his Astrocat Nibbles.
Nibbles is my pet Astrocat. I built a rocket for him, and I shot him up. He's got a couple burns from previous flights. He's hanging in there.
To guarantee the success of this year's launch, Kurt has to test the separation of Space Death's boosters.
The idea for the side boosters on Space Death 2 actually comes from NASA. It adds a level of complexity to the flight that just makes it so much more interesting to be able to do that. The reason you eject the pods on a rocket are to basically shed weight. which allows the rocket to go higher. If the boosters don't fall off together in unison and drop away, there could be problems. 3, 2, 1, fire. Uh-oh, that was not good. That worries me.
When we come back, we're going to find out what happens to Space Death 2 and find out how many lives little Nibbles has left.
Uh-oh.
And later, who will be crowned the fastest rocket in the land and take home the championship trophy? It's been non-stop fireworks at LDRS. The first round of our fastest rocket competition was truly explosive, and the remaining 3 contestants are prepping their rockets for the final round just minutes away.
And we're good to go.
But first, it's time to launch Kirk Gugasberg's Space Death 2, piloted by his Astro Kitty, Nibbles.
Okay, Nibbles, have a good flight.
Rocket on the pad? Check. Kitty in the rocket? Check.
The cat's right about there.
Looks like the only manned flight at LDRS is ready for liftoff.
How are you feeling about your flying furball?
My heart is pounding.
All right, set him free.
Okay, let's do it.
Going in 3, 2, 1.
Successful every stage, yeah.
But that's just part of the battle. When Kurt tested his boosters on the ground, they failed. Will they deploy now when it counts?
Come on, eject, eject, eject.
Yay! Now, the real moment of truth. Where is Nibbles? Nibbles has a perfect landing. And now for the moment everyone's been waiting for. The championship final round of the fastest rocket drag race competition. 3 rockets will launch, but only 1 rocket will leave with the trophy and bragging rights for the fastest rocket in America. The first round, 8 of the 11 rockets were disqualified after they exploded on takeoff. Our 3 finalists are hoping they don't fall victim to a repeat of round 1's catastrophic failures.
This is for bragging rights. Any last thoughts?
We're gonna win, but let the best man win. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. Good luck to you, Carl.
Let's go fire some rockets.
All right.
I probably think that the yellow rocket's gonna win.
I hope to win. I will be disappointed if the rocket goes up and comes back in and crashes.
I'm going for the black one. All black with the plants.
The black and white one's gonna win.
I'm gonna win this race.
It's the most exciting thing I've seen as long as I've been coming out here.
Going in 5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Heads up!
Karl BAUMHECKEL's bullet takes off perfectly.
That was amazing!
Yeah! Mark Canepa's rocket, so long and thanks for all the fish, has a delayed launch and keyed. Automatic disqualification.
Well, it's disappointing, but rocketry's like that. Some days you have failure. You just gotta pick up the pieces and move on to the next rocket. It was still a lot of fun.
Andy Handsome's Patriot failed to launch.
The igniter somehow failed to spark the engine. Nothing there. Oh, very disappointing to see it not move, but...
Congratulations to you.
The Bullet is the automatic winner and now the new champion of this year's fastest rocket competition.
At the LDRS 29 2010 contest, how do you feel?
I feel great.
What brought you to the finish line? What gave you the edge?
We had the structural integrity, and we had the speed, and we had just the right amount of luck. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The Bullet is the fastest rocket at the LDRS 29 2010 competition.